again. Welcome back inside the Tier 4 studio here in Morgantown, West Virginia for 24/7 Sports. I am Mike Casazza. It is late on a Saturday night here for me. It's sometime Sunday probably as you listen to this. Maybe it's a day or two later. It's found you by word of mouth or some other unconventional means. But for me right now, 11:37 p.m. on a Saturday night. I have just gotten back into town after spending the afternoon in Beckley, West Virginia. Made the trip to check out the Scott Brown Memorial Classic. If you're not familiar, it's an all-star event in West Virginia. 2 games, bookending a 3-point contest and a slam dunk contest. And the main attraction tonight featured, as has become a tradition in the event, West Virginia recruits. This time, Trey Doomes and Jordan McCabe. I think a lot of people have seen them in a digital form, highlight packages online, and I'm no different. I've seen certainly plenty of Jordan McCabe, as have so many of us. Something about his highlights are pretty irresistible, right? I'm a bit more inclined to look at some Trey Doomes stuff. There's a lot about him that I was intrigued by and curious to vet in person, which is what I did tonight. And to be frank with you, I'm more interested, more intrigued now than I was 5 hours ago. But we'll get to that. Let's talk about not just these 2 recruits, but kind of the news of the event. This is half so far of the recruiting class. It's McCabe, it's Doomes, did not have Andrew Gordon, did not have Derek Culver, who actually played in the event last year. Had the 2 guards, 2/4 of the recruiting class coming in. However, Doomes and McCabe happen to be friends with Emmett Matthews. Emmett Matthews, of course, one time recruited by West Virginia, committed to and then signed with UConn, released from his letter of intent, and West Virginia has gone all the way out to Tacoma, Washington to visit him since. And McCabe, who, by the way, lobbied West Virginia to recruit and sign Doomes, well, he and Doomes are putting the press on Emmett Matthews right now. They actually have a group chat with each other, just 3 people. And it's a lot of questions and answers. It's a lot of advice. It's a lot of, I think you should consider this, and here's why you should consider this. And they are, again, putting the pressure on Matthews in a friendly and constructive way. They respect and understand the recruiting process and the space that people need, but they've pretty much let Matthews know they're both there if he has a question. And they'll be here for the next few years if Matthews wants to join them. But what do we have with McCabe and Doomes? This was their event tonight. Again, it's an all-star event. It's a Class A against Class AA game. It's a skills competition in between, and then it's the All-Stars all-star game afterward. And McCabe and Doomes were in that one against some players who were going to different colleges: Morehead State, Xavier, UCLA, VCU. Some pretty good talent from in and around the state. Huntington Prep is represented. But the co-MVPs were, surprise, surprise, McCabe and Doomes. Doomes, 24 points, 7 rebounds. McCabe, 19.7 assists. You can check the highlights on earsports.com. McCabe, 18 out of 25 twice to win the 3-point shootout. 18 out of 25. Pretty good. He got hot at the end of the second one. It's kind of fun to watch. He had to make 14 to win. I believe he made his last 10 and won with 18. And then Doomes ran away with the slam dunk contest with McCabe assisting on all 3 dunks. Kind of fun to watch. And they're fun to watch play. They led their team to victory, and they pretty much showcased who they are and how they have played to this point. McCabe says he is 6 feet tall and 175 pounds. Doomes says he is 6'3" and 175 pounds. I'm inclined to believe McCabe. I'm curious to see what the tape measure says about Doomes. They are both bummed out that Andy Kettler, the strength and conditioning coach, will no longer be with the team. He's at Louisville, in case you're not familiar. He's since made that move, and West Virginia should have somebody sooner than later, I hope. But they had kind of taken a liking to Kettler and the offseason map that they had planned for him. Doomes is kind of free to get to whatever weight he wants. He's eyeballing 190 if he can get there and be comfortable. McCabe could be happy at 175. He says that players from John Stockton to Steve Nash have played in that 175 to 185 range. He wants to be in that 10-pound buffer area, and just to kind of figure out what number he's comfortable with. And Doomes is very much the same. That's what they have to do before they get to town. McCabe will be here in May, and Doomes will join a few weeks later in June. And they're going to play. I don't think there's any questioning that. West Virginia lost 2 guards, in case you haven't heard. Javon Carter, Dax Miles, both gone. Those are starters. That's the most experienced backcourt in a Power 5 conference. And West Virginia just doesn't have a lot of guards. Doesn't. That's something that had to change, and these two are looking to change it. And they're capable. And they're going to play different positions, and combined, perhaps they can give the team the fix it needs. McCabe is an interesting prospect who kind of told me that he understands he's going to have to change the way he plays. He understands the highlights made him, let's say, famous. I'll say famous. He didn't say it, but I'll say famous. I think a lot of people identify him because of the highlights. I don't think he likes the nickname White Chocolate. I haven't heard him called that in quite some time either, but the reputation exists. And he knows that a lot of the stuff that was flashy and effective in high school will not work in college, but he also knows that it's who he is. And that swagger, that confidence, that little bit of flash made him effective. He is not like anybody on the roster right now, and that may be good. It's really hard to tell his first step, his defense, things like that in an all-star game, but you can tell he understands the game, and if he can get his shot, very good. Coaches on his team and against his team, they just this week, watching him practice or competing against him, they understood that if he got open, that shot was going down. And he was able to create space sometimes, but if teammates found him open, which happens quite a bit in an all-star game, he was going to knock down a shot, and he did. There were a couple flourishes that were pretty interesting to watch. He was able to strafe left to right and hit that free throw line extended jump shot. And that was interesting. He was able to create the room and then get up and make the shot. So he created his space, and again, in space, he made a shot. Also, very fun to watch in the open floor. His head is always moving. He's not looking ahead. I think he knows what happens ahead of him. He's trying to find what's going on to his left and his right. I think it should go without saying, he'll make them a better passing team and a better transition team. And those are two areas that West Virginia has really struggled in this season in particular, but maybe even in the past 2 seasons. Not great in transition and just didn't pass the ball very well. He has a knack for getting the ball to where it's supposed to go. I think that's promising. And really, look at the guards on the roster. You're probably starting Beetle Bolden at the 1 and playing Brandon Napper behind him. I don't know why he couldn't step in and play with another 2 guard. I'm not sure he can play with Bolden or with Napper. I think they need the size. But he's a little bit different, and he can make them effective. He's not a finished product. He's a year away, maybe from being a year away. But there's a lot to work with there. Doomes is the one I think is the most interesting. And similar to McCabe, they don't have anybody like him right now. He's going to be, if not the most athletic player on the team next year, then right there with Wes Harris. I think you can make an argument that Kanate would be your most athletic just because of what he can do at his size and his position. And that's fine. It's hard to compare those positions. It's hard to compare Doomes and Harris. But I think you can look at them and see them do similar things and just tell that they have some twitch. They have some bounce. They have some spring. Doomes definitely has that. He needs to shoot a little bit better. He's got a funky shot, left-handed, that I don't know if they'll work on or not. The hand positioning is unusual. I'm not a shooting coach, but you can look at it and tell this is not what you're going to want at a higher level. But they didn't do a lot of work with Teddy Allen's shot, and Teddy Allen needs a jump shot to make his offense effective. Those two are not similar players, but they are outside-in players, and Allen and Doomes are players who want to get their offense at the rim. I would think that Doomes is going to eventually be one of the better players on the roster at that. He's not going to be a guy who's going to get you easy baskets when he wants next year. I think he has the capacity to do that. He's just that athletic. He's long, and he's going to get bigger. He's going to add some weight where he'll be able to use his body a little bit to create positioning. He has a lot of potential to be very skilled, and I think that's going to be not just on offense too. He's quick. He can move. Again, he just has that athleticism that's going to let him play defense, and he said that he is honestly, that was his word, honestly, a great defensive player. So you like the confidence there, and that's a necessity if you're going to play for Bob Huggins. The one thing I want to mention to you and perhaps leave you with as it relates to Doomes, he's ambidextrous. He does almost everything offensively with his left hand, his free throws, his jump shots, a lot of his dribbling and passing, but he also does a lot of his dribbling and passing with his right hand, and he prefers to finish with his right hand. What's tricky to watch him with is that he doesn't have a spin move just to the left or just to the right. He doesn't just drive left or just drive right. He likes to do both. That made him pretty effective, again, in an all-star game, getting where he wanted in the paint. And I wonder how often the ball can be in his hands in college. He played point guard growing up. He played some point guard in AAU. He has said he's not given up on playing point guard in college. It's very interesting to see him out there today in an all-star game looking very comfortable, moving the ball, passing the ball as a point guard, and also getting to the basket, getting easy scores. And that's really important in any team, especially in college. And if you've seen West Virginia struggle with jump shots or even easy baskets at the rim in the past, it's nice to have guys who have the ball in their hands and get to the rim. I don't know if he'll be the point guard. Javon Carter wasn't a point guard before he got here, and he turned out to be pretty good. And I'm not comparing one to the other. But you watch him play and you listen to him talk and you see the skills. Again, left-handed, right-handed, can go either way, can finish either way. And you wonder, what's ahead for him? And that's probably the most exciting part, is you really don't know with Trey Doomes. And you really don't know with either one of these guys right now. Haven't even set foot on campus, but that's coming sooner rather than later. The future is not yet here, but it's certainly on the way. That's it for this time. I will see you next time, late on a Saturday night. I am Mike Casazza for 24/7 Sports.